Gran Turismo Sport is an upcoming racing simulation game coming to the PlayStation 4 system on October 17th from $60 if you're in North America, or October 18th from £46 or €60 if you're in Europe. It's the first title in the Gran Turismo series that's been developed for the current generation console, providing far superior graphics and audio, precisely modelled cars, a variety of tracks, and will, for the first time, support virtual reality. The game will contain 3 distinct game modes: Arcade Mode, for relaxed online and offline races with friends or AI, Sport Mode, for competitive online racing, and Campaign Mode, a series of missions designed to improve your overall driving skill and etiquette. Brand new features include a photography mode called Scapes and the long-awaited livery editor. Sony are promising that Gran Turismo Sport will be compatible with the best imaging technologies available today, with up to 4K resolution at 60 frames per second on PlayStation 4 Pro, as well as high dynamic range and wide colour for those with high-end displays. In fact, they're so confident with their new capture technology that they've gone as far as to say there will be a noticeable level of realism even on conventional TVs. Hdr Brightness Range achieved by Gran Turismo Sport will support a maximum of 10,000 nits, that's 100 times brighter than standard dynamic range. Colour space has also been increased by 64% in comparison to sRGB, allowing the game to display almost all the colours perceivable by the human eye. These advancements make an obvious difference to image quality in-game, and we now get a much crisper image with improved contrast in highlights and shadows. Sound has now been tuned to reflect all the noises you would hear inside the car, including engine sounds, transmission noise, exhaust sound, road noise, wind noise, and more. Polyphony Digital say they have developed a sound simulator to better understand the way we recognise sounds as humans, and compare electronic sounds with those of real-world vehicles recorded specifically for the game. Have a listen to this clip of gameplay taken from the night racing trailer, and it's evident they have put some work into improving the sound design in GT Sport. Different to previous titles in the series, GT Sport will have far fewer cars in the game, with just 177 from launch. However, this time each car has been modelled from the ground up, with every detail of each car precisely recreated. I was initially disappointed to hear this at first, however thinking back to GT5, which had 1,086 cars, of which only 246 were remodelled for the PlayStation 3 and the other 840 ripped straight from GT4, I'm glad they are now only offering completed cars in GT Sport. Porsche vehicles are now finally included in the game, with the 911 GT3 RS available from launch. There are also a few cars in the game with the Vision Gran Turismo title. These are essentially concept vehicles designed by the automobile manufacturers, featuring some cool propulsion and aerodynamic technologies. GT Sport will have 28 configurations of 19 locations to race on, featuring real-life circuits like Brands Hatch and the classic Nürburgring to urban tracks like Tokyo Expressway and originals such as Willow Springs International Raceway. You'll also find some dirt tracks included too if you fancy a spot of rally racing. Unfortunately, the game won't feature the dynamic weather system or day-night cycle, which I particularly enjoyed from playing GT5 and GT6. However, you'll have the option to modify the sky conditions and time of day before starting a race. The game's 3 playing modes mark quite a different turn for the Gran Turismo series, with GT Sport focusing itself more on the art of racing rather than the journey. Because of this, GT Sport's Campaign Mode, previously known as GT Mode, will not feature any championships, competitions or dealerships as previous players of the series will be used to. Instead, it will only focus on missions to improve racing technique and etiquette, perhaps most similar to GT's driving school. In other words, GT Sport will not offer players the chance to buy a cheap, used car and participate in a variety of cups and racing events to gradually build up a garage of diverse and exciting vehicles. Instead, you are now limited to missions only. For many people, this could be a real deal breaker, as if you are like me, then you have really enjoyed GT mode and all that it has had to offer, and this much more limited campaign does not look to be nearly as rewarding. Others who have played the pre-release version of the game also noted a clunky and confusing user interface, which could easily get frustrating when playing the game for longer periods of time. The game's new livery editor and PlayStation VR compatibility are welcome additions to the game, but is it enough to outweigh the concerns over how much there actually is to do in GT Sport? I don't think so. There are various product versions available to pre-order offering some decent incentives, but my advice is lower your expectations and wait until it's out to digest some reviews before you consider buying yourself a copy.